Good evening and welcome to the January 2023 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members, Mike Kavanaugh, Matt Core, Sarah Howard, Janice Molhoff, Craig Moody, Mary Spurgeon, and Eric Williams. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, our General Counsel Steve Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are also participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have 5 members of the public at the Civic Center and 14 attendees on WebEx consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. As a reminder to board members, executive leadership team, and OPPD staff, please mute your microphones to reduce background noise. To members of the public, thank you for attending. You are in listen-only mode. If you have any technology questions, please use the chat feature in WebEx to communicate with the event host. If you are disconnected from the WebEx conference, we ask that you rejoin in the same manner as when you originally joined. I will now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location and for Javier Fernandez to provide other safety reminders. Mr. Clark?
Sure. As we usually do, we'll take a few minutes to talk a little bit about safety in this room. We have gone over different safety protocols, but we do have emergency exits on either end of the room. Also located in those areas are fire suppression and also first aid equipment. Corporate security members also in the back of the room have some additional first aid equipment if needed. Please remember that trips and falls are often what leads us all to get into the emergency room much more often than we'd like. So be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your environment, be careful in those situations. And if you are calling in or watching from home, we'd advise that you'd also have some first aid fire suppression materials available to you as well. And make sure that there's someone, a loved one, a friend that knows where you're at all times, just in case there's an emergency. In addition, as we noticed yesterday, we had some weather come through the area, so it's always a good idea to make sure that your vehicles are up to snuff as far as mechanically sound and the tires are well inflated and working well. And then in addition to that, in these cold weather months, I'd also suggest having first aid equipment as well as extra clothing and supplies in a vehicle as well, just to be safe. So with that, hopefully you'll have a great meeting tonight and welcome.
Thank you, Josh. Going into the other part of the safety briefing, of course, make sure that you know where the AED first aid kits are. Josh just walked us through that. The other part is psychological safety. I talked about a culture of curiosity on Tuesday. Incredibly important for the complex topics that we discussed often at OPPD, being intellectually curious, having that willingness to learn and willingness to accept other points of views and trying to just all of us contribute the best knowledge we have to the table. It's incredibly important for us to have that culture of curiosity open and practice it all the time. That fosters a psychologically safe environment. Next slide, please. Something that I mentioned on Tuesday, usually after the holiday season, whether it's a long holiday like the one that we just experienced with New Year's and Christmas or any other holiday, it is often the case that returning to work after the holidays results in a spike in incidents. So it is important for us to refocus. It's fantastic that we all get to take a time off to relax and rest and unplug. But when we come back to work, that focus to come back and do our job safely. Went over winter storm safety. Important for us to be always prepared. I think we've talked about having blankets and having snacks and food in your car should you ever get stranded in the cold weather. And then with ergonomics, make sure that we all look at our surroundings before you begin a job, whether it's a physical job or a desk job. Sometimes it's those small, subtle movements that could cause pain and injuries that with time turn into something much bigger. So be aware of your surroundings as you begin your job with ergonomics. That concludes my safety briefing.
Thank you very much. Now let's run through our guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on oppd.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are a part of the official public record. After the introduction of action items, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter, and then I will ask for public comment. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We will take comments in the room first and then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer that is in the room. Mr. Adams will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. Next, we will review the 2 options for WebEx attendees to notify us. Option 1, which is being displayed now, involves sending the meeting technology host a message using the chat feature, simply stating that you wish to speak. Mr. Adams?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. For those who have joined us using the computer or WebEx mobile app, you will find a button in your WebEx interface to open the chat panel. Once opened, you may send your message to the meeting technology host. Requests to provide comments will be relayed to Chair Bogner for recognition during the public comment section.
Option 2, which is being displayed now, involves the hand raise feature.
WebEx allows attendees to virtually raise their hand. You may use this feature to indicate to OPPD that you wish to be recognized to provide comments. The hand raise button can be found in the lower control bar of WebEx. After you have provided your comments, please press the hand raise button again to virtually lower your hand. And for those who have joined the meeting using only a telephone, WebEx has a hand raise feature that is activated by pressing *3 to raise and lower your hand. When we see your hand raise, we will acknowledge you by referencing a portion of your phone number. If you wish to provide comments when recognized, please wait a brief moment to be unmuted and begin speaking. At this time, if you would like to try using the hand raise feature, please do so as a test.
I'll allow plenty of time at each opportunity for public comment for members of the public to provide notification via WebEx. When I call on a member of the public to speak, our meeting technology host will unmute your microphone. Before commencing your comments, I suggest you first affirm that we can hear you. Please state your name and address and state the name of any organization or person you're representing. Organizations should choose one representative to speak on their behalf. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending at the discretion of the board. To assist you, we will display a timer on the WebEx screen to ensure each member of the public receives a consistent amount of time. Mr. Adams will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitive, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from polling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and prohibited by law. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For those at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center, please hand your materials to Mr. Adams. In summary, we will take in-room comments first, then WebEx comments, then have a last call. Mr. Adams, will you please take the roll?
Director Bogner,
Here.
Kavanaugh,
Here.
Court,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Mulhoff,
Here.
Moody,
Here.
Spurgeon,
Here.
and Williams.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald, OPBD Outlets newsletter, oppd.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on January 13th, 2023. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com and in this meeting room. For board consent agenda items, the consent agenda items are as follows. Approval of the November 2022 Comprehensive Financial and Operating Report, December 2022 meeting minutes, and the January 19th, 2023 agenda. Substation Foundation, duct lines, and miscellaneous work, Resolution number 6546. And substation steel structures, Resolution number 6547. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda items, I need a motion and a second to approve the items.
So move.
Second.
We discussed these action items at the all committees meeting on Tuesday, January 17th. So at this time, we'll take public comment. If any members of the public in the room have comments on these consent agenda items, please come to the podium. All right, no one in the room is making a move. So we will see if any public on the WebEx have comments to make. Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Mr. Adams, do we have any requests to make public comment?
We have none.
Last call. All right, you may take the roll.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up is board discussion action items. Election of board officers, resolution number 6544. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the board members listed on Exhibit A be and hereby are elected to serve as officers of the board effective January 19th, 2023 for a term of 1 year and until the election of their successor or removal from office.
So move.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. We will move into our board discussion on this item at this time. I'll just tee it off. We worked with the governance committee to identify leadership for this next year. And I'm very excited about the leaders that we have on this slate. So at this time, if other board members would like to make comments, I welcome you. Director Kavanaugh.
I support the nominations for all 4 positions, and I also want to take the opportunity to thank you, Amanda, for the great job you've done the last 2 years as board chair. And I know you did a great job. I know it's a difficult job at times, and you kept us on the rails. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. Director Mulhoff.
So I'm honored to be included in this slate, but I too would like to thank Amanda for the work that she did and her commitment and dedication to 2 years that were very challenging. And so I'm honored to be on the slate and thank the current leadership for the work that they've done.
Thank you very much. Director Spurgeon.
Thank you, Director Bogner. I have been on the Finance Committee for 2 years now, so I am honored by the trust put in me to chair that committee. I appreciate that. I'll do my best. And I too want to thank everyone who has led the committees here for the past 2 years, because that's a significant responsibility. So thanks to you, and thanks to you, Chair Bogner, for your work.
Thank you. Director Williams.
Yeah, thanks very much, Director Bogner, for your work the last 2 years. It's been interesting, but thanks to you, not too interesting. As we prepare for the future, I appreciate the trust and support that my colleagues have shown in nominating me to be the chair. I've been really impressed and motivated by the excellent performance and progress within OPPD over the last 4 years that I've had the pleasure to represent Subdivision 6, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve in the new role. The critical work of the board is to set policy and oversee operations which provide affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive energy services. These can all be accomplished as we advance the just and equitable energy transition, which is already underway around the world, across the country, and within our own organization. Public Power has proved that by working together to focus on our customer owners, we are indeed leading the way we power the future. In that spirit, I encourage us all to remember that the future is always uncertain and unseen, whether or not we are adapting and growing. OPPD has risen to overcome many unexpected challenges in the last 2 years or the last 5 years that some of us have been with the organization. Among them, that has been the straight line winds, the historic flooding, the global pandemic, the massive storms and associated outages, the unpredictable economic times that we've seen, and a global energy intensity crisis. Perseverance and dedication by employees and leadership throughout the organization has helped in these numerous difficulties and has been nothing short of awe-inspiring. So I appreciate everything that everyone has done over the last several years to keep us focused on the future. As we continue forward, we do so in a way which expands opportunities for the people we serve. The recent work to understand and address energy burden by the Finance Committee has been critical in making sure that everyone has access to electricity as an underlying service for a happy and successful modern life. Systems across society, which have led to disproportionate benefits and impacts, must be understood and updated. Tools to provide abundance for everyone are available, and we must choose to use them. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with all of you as we collectively live up to the mission, vision, and core values of the organization. So thanks very much for the nomination to be the chair.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for all the comments. It's been my great pleasure to be your chair for the last 2 years, and I have all the faith in the world that the next leadership will also do a very good job. Yes, please.
Sorry, you're not going to get away without me saying something. It has been a fantastic 18 months for me as president and CEO. Director Wagner, not only did you have to do everything that was said before, you also led this organization under a change of leadership and selecting a CEO and replacing the former CEO, which is not an easy task. You and I traveled together to Lincoln to testify at the legislature, something that the board chair, it's a responsibility that sometimes you get to do. You and I stood in front of TV cameras when we were restoring power during that July of 2021 storm, something that the board chair is uniquely positioned to do. So I want to recognize you for everything you've done, but for being also a good partner who has pushed me and has pushed the organization in really good ways, encouraging us when we need that encouragement and pushing us to always becoming a much better organization. So thank you for your service.
All right, thank you. At this time, we will move to public comment. So if any individuals in the room would like to make a public comment on this action item, please come to the podium. All right, seeing no movement, we will move to WebEx. Are there any attendees on WebEx that wish to make a public comment? Please use the hand raise feature or press *3.
There are not.
Okay, very good. We will go ahead and take the vote.
Wagner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Molhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up is the Board Standing Committee Assignments, Resolution number 6549. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the 2023 Standing Committee assignments of the Board, as outlined on Exhibit A attached hereto, be and are hereby approved.
And I so move.
Second.
All right, Director Williams, would you like to tee up for discussion?
Yeah, I appreciate the work with Director Bogner and in the Governance Committee to outline leadership position for each of the committees looking forward. It's always a challenge to find new roles for people to continue their experience within the board, but I think we've got great leaders in each of the committees, and I think we've got an opportunity for our new director, Matt Core, to gain some experience with the Systems Committee. That's a great place to learn about the operations and all of the critical work that our employees do, and so it's always good to try and get a new director into the Systems Committee for some initial experience. We've got a lot of fun things coming, so appreciate all of the directors who will be serving in leadership positions on those committees, and looking forward to these committees helping us move forward. Thanks.
All right, would any other directors like to make a public comment at this point? No? Okay. We will go ahead and move on now to public comment period. If any members of the public in the room have a comment, please come to the podium. All right, seeing no motion. If any members of the public on WebEx have a comment, please use the hand raise feature in WebEx to indicate you would like to make a comment or press *3 on your phone. Are there any requests to make a comment on this action item?
Negative.
Okay. All right, go ahead and take the vote, please.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Passes.
Next up on our agenda, we have the president's report. So I'll turn it over now to Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair Bogner. Probably the last time I say that. This is the report for the month of December. The month of December was a unique month, a little challenging month for our baseload generation. Nebraska City Unit 1 had a forced turbine outage for 10 days to repair a failed low pressure extraction steam bellows on December 9th. And then after that was repaired, then on December 23rd, we reduced the output to half of that unit because of river levels, very low river levels on the Missouri River, which I will touch on here in a moment. That was the main reason why you see North Omaha Units 4 and 5 with such low capacity factors. In addition to tube leaks that took North Omaha Unit 4 out of service earlier in the month of December, really the biggest event happened on Christmas Eve on December 22nd into the 23rd. The ice jams on the Missouri River from just north of our Omaha station, North Omaha station, all the way up to Blair, resulted in a dramatic reduction of water levels in the river, which forced those two units to come offline. We need water for cooling reasons, for cooling purposes, and we didn't have enough water to run those units, and that caused quite a bit of concern. Mother Nature was on our side eventually, and so 24 to 48 hours later, temperatures rose, and so did water levels. We were able to bring those two units back online towards the end of the month. Unit 4 came back on January 1st, and I am happy to report that those two units are online. But it was a challenging December from something that we haven't necessarily seen in many years, which is low water levels. Next, our balancing generation was very busy. Those same days, we experienced a very significant increase in load across the SPP footprint, which had our Cass County units up and running. Cass County unit was in outage for most of the month of December, so most of this capacity factor usage here is from Cass County Unit 2, but we had Jones Street units running. North Omaha units 1, 2, and 3, I want to emphasize again, they did not run because we don't have natural gas for those units in the month of December. That natural gas is used for heating purposes on residential neighborhoods. These will likely be the case once we complete the conversion of North Omaha units 4 and 5. It's the same restrictions of gas, generally speaking. Our Sarpy County units were online with a capacity factor of 4.9, and again, they may not seem, these numbers may not seem that large, 4.9%, 3.4%, but it is the most important 3.4% of the time that these units ran to really supplement and keep the system on. On the renewable side, wind was very strong. That was one of the reasons why we had such low temperatures, and was because the wind was blowing really strong. Renewable energy contributed 36.4% of OPPD's retail energy sales. We had a wind capacity factor of 50%. That is really strong, very high, and not necessarily unexpected, but certainly it helped having that much that amount of renewables on the system when we had some of these units offline. The capacity factor for our community solar is 10.9%. This is as expected. December is not a high capacity factor month for our community solar project. Next slide, please. Okay, so I want to spend a couple of minutes on this. This is very, very important. OPPD set a new record winter peak load on December 22nd, 2023. As a result of an Arctic outbreak with extreme cold temperatures that we call the Winter Storm Elliott. The important thing here is that not only did we set a new peak, this is my own words, we shattered the old peak. Our previous record was 1,824 megawatts, and the new record was 2,091 megawatts. This is a significant increase, a 15% increase from the previous record in the winter. This is not the summer peak. Summer peak is much higher, but winter peak is something that is incredibly important for our planners when they're configuring the system. The resources we have available during the winter are very different than during the summer. So this is something that has all of our planners very interested and focused on how that winter peak continues to grow and what resources we continue to add to our fleet to be able to respond to that increasing winter peak. In this case was over 200 megawatts from one year to the next. Again, this is a result of two things. One, it was incredibly cold, but also we are growing. The load is growing. Our service territory is growing. So it's a combination of that growth and very low temperatures that cause these peak. You can see on the right side a comparison from Winter Storm Uri, what we used to call the polar vortex. Now that's becoming a more normal thing. So compared to the Winter Storm Elliott we just experienced a few weeks ago, much colder temperatures that we experienced in December of 2022 than we did in February of 2021. The difference, Winter Storm Uri, this is when we had planned outages. The difference here is that the Winter Storm Uri affected a much larger region from the Canadian border all the way down to the Mexican border, affecting the whole SPP. We didn't see that this time around with Winter Storm Elliott, and we were able to balance between regions much better than last time. Next slide, please. Also, as this was happening, on December 23rd, SPP twice declared an energy emergency alert level 1. What that did was all SPP generation was committed to serve load in SPP. There were other regions, Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, or MISO, and other regional transmission organizations were struggling. And so there were many resources that were exporting energy out to those markets. And when SPP sees that we're exporting too much and our own margins are coming down, that's when they issued that emergency alert level 1 to basically say no more exports. We need to take care of our own system. And the EEA1 alerts did exactly that, and we were able to keep all of that generation within the SPP footprint. Next slide, please. I mentioned wind. You can see here wind performed incredibly well that day of December 22nd. That it's the same factor that caused temperatures to drop was the same factor that was generating quite a bit of power in the SPP footprint. What you see here is for the entire Southwest Power Pool footprint, quite a bit of coal and natural gas, of course, providing energy and capacity. Very little solar, and you can see here because it's at 6 p.m. So we were not expecting solar, but certainly wind generation came in and helped quite a bit with carrying that load. Next slide, please. Okay, so Greener Together program. There have been some requests in recent meetings, recent months about, hey, what's happening with Greener Together? I'm very excited to report the first two projects that were funded under the new Greener Together program. This program launched in May of 2022, so not even a year old. This program connects community members and organizations to collectively build a greener community. Currently, nearly 5,000 members contribute monthly, and all funds collected go towards selecting and supporting green projects within our community and OPPD's service territory. During the first project application period, we received 16 project applications from local nonprofit organizations for green community-focused projects. The project review committee, made up of OPPD employees and customers, reviewed and scored projects in 3 categories: community betterment, environmental impact, and project viability, which then moved forward by voting by our own Greener Together customers. And you can see here that these are the 2 projects that got awards. One is the Whispering Roots project. really, really interesting, where they're building raised green garden beds with underserved students using plastic lumber made from plastic waste that has been diverted from the landfill. So it's reusing other materials that would have otherwise been filling up a landfill. Um, and then the other one is Habitat for Humanity to launch a pilot for solar energy as a way to not only reduce utility costs for households, but also help us with more distributed generation. Next slide, please. Okay, honoring our community. The March Setki month of giving raised support area, United Way of the Midlands. It raised funds, $273,469, which is fantastic. Our employees and retirees generously donate money and even vacation time, which results in OPPD raising the amount that I just shared for last year's campaign. On the award side, OPPD received 2 awards at the Center for Energy Workforce Development Summit. This was back in November. The first one is OPPD accepted the Community Partner Award, which recognizes companies for developing unique connections within the local community with educators, minority-facing organizations, workforce systems, or other groups that have yielded demonstrated results in fueling the talent pipeline. And the second award we received was for our own Joyce Cooper, who is our Director of Diversity and Inclusion. She received the Workforce Champion Award, celebrating an individual who has shown extraordinary leadership in the workforce development arena by creating meaningful change that influence, mobilize, and energize a diverse, skilled, and talented pipeline. Very proud of the work that Joyce continues to do for us. Lots of good news this month. OPPD, on January 10, 2023, OPPD was awarded $3.46 million by the Nebraska Environmental Trust for a landfill solar project. The proposed project, known as OPPD Douglas County SOLUS, or Solar on Landfills Utility Scale, is a joint effort between OPPD and Douglas County. It will be constructed on the closed Douglas County State Street landfill, which is a 160-acre parcel of land located at 126th and State Streets in Omaha. This project still has a ways to go. As you can see here, this coming year we'll do a feasibility study. Years 2 and 3 will be design and construction. So don't expect to see the panels there just yet. But we're very excited to announce this because it's a collaborative effort with different entities trying to use otherwise unusable land for a new purpose. Very excited about this. I will repeat this from last month. Joined the 16th annual Heat the Streets Run and Walk for Warmth event, where OPPD and MUD we team up to raise money, where 100% of the funds raised go to energy assistance programs. This year, the event will be held on March 4th at the Axarvin Village in Omaha, Nebraska. Our own OPPD director, Sarah Howard, and her mom, Gwen Howard, who's a director at MUD, they are the co-chairs of this event. You can register at heatthestreetomaha.com. It's really easy. I already did it, and it takes about 5 minutes or less. So I highly encourage you to do this. The last one is a note of sadness. I usually talk about employees who died in the line of duty. That is not the case this time around, but it's certainly one of ours. We're remembering Mike Wright, who was an underground construction worker. Mike was from Malvern, Iowa. He died on Friday, January 6, 2023, at his home unexpectedly. Mike was born in Council Bluffs, Iowa, to John Orville and Marcia K. Wright. John Orville is a retiree of OPPD. There is a proud history of OPPD employees, and it was really sad to see this news. Mike's brother is a lineman down in Arizona, so there's a lot of tradition in that family for line work and utility work. He was married to Anita Lee Hardy, and Mike loved to watch his daughter Kaylee play basketball during her high school years, and he was beyond proud of her drive and ambition, leading her to a future associate's degree in dental hygiene. Mike loved to watch his son Levi play baseball all throughout high school, with one final amazing season of football mixed in, and definitely loved the fact that Levi shared Mike's love for hunting. You can see the picture down there. It's our bucket trucks with an American flag. This is something we do for employees who work in the line department. I can tell you, it was an amazing event. Very sad, but to see how many OPPD employees attended the funeral and the support that this organization gives to our own was inspiring. Under a sad situation, it was really inspiring to see the OPPD family come together. And that concludes my president's report.
Thank you very much. And certainly our condolences as a board go out to Mike's family. At this time, we'd like to have the opportunity for comment on other items of district business. So if any members of the public in the room have a comment on other items of district business, please come to the podium.
David Begley, customer owner, 4611 South 96th Street. I have here in my materials the Omaha World Herald op-ed that I had published, which I call out the former governors of Nebraska and Iowa for shilling for the Chi-Coms, Big Solar, and Big Wind. The actions of these Republicans just prove that V.I. Lenin was correct when he said, the capitalists will sell us the rope with which we will hang them. Somebody then responded to me in the Omaha World Herald and said, who does Begley represent? Well, I have a lawyer friend who keeps saying to me, why do you spend all this time on this stuff? You're not getting paid. And I have not been paid for any of this. And I do so simply because I want to stop this giant boondoggle that you're trying to run here. And I don't want to see our electric rates triple. Now, I must give sincere congratulations to Mr. Underwood for spotting that undeveloped land at 126th and Underwood. I clued the Douglas County Board in on this and told them I think the fair rate is about $500,000 a year you're going to have to pay to rent that. And I also told the board, in my opinion, in watching this board operate, you are completely indifferent to the high cost of net zero carbon, and you will force OPPD's customer owners to pay any price and bear any burden in pursuit of your utopian goal. You always talk about safety, and you've got your plant going in and out at U10, your solar plant. Here's some news. This month, a 100 megawatt facility near Las Vegas, Nevada, was knocked out of commission by one guy by the name of Mohammed Masmarian. And he drove it through the fence of this 100 megawatt industrial solar facility. It is going to take at least 2 years to get the replacement parts. So when you're building out there in U10 and at 126th and State, oh, and as an aside, I'm not going to oppose 126th and State. It'd be a waste of time. But you better have some real good security, okay? Because these terrorists, they'll want to drive their cars or whatever and blow up your stuff. Finally, I have good news for the board. Well, you'll see it later. But you've adapted your SD7 and you want to spend
30 seconds.
$29 billion. I have found something that's a whole lot cheaper. It's called geoengineering. Some of you may be familiar with it. There's a company called Make Sunsets that for the low sum of $29 million, not billion, just $29 million, they will spray solar dioxide particles into the atmosphere and cool down the state of Nebraska and increase crop yields by 10%. I see one of the directors kind of laughing. Yeah, it's completely absurd, but it's only slightly less absurd than spending 29 to 50 billion on solar.
That is time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public in the room that have a comment on other district business? If so, please come to the podium. All right, at this time, we'll turn to WebEx. Are there any requests to make a public comment from our WebEx attendees?
David Corbin.
Okay, Dr. Corbin?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. David Corbin, Energy Committee Chair of the Nebraska Sierra Club, 1002 North 49th Street. First of all, I'd like to join in thanking the officers that have served so well in the past uh, year and to congratulate the new officers. In addition, I listened in on the committee meeting. It's one of the shortest ones ever, which was a good thing. And I noticed that you talked a little bit about LB 255, and I can assure you that the Sierra Club is looking at that too. But I want to call your attention to LB 560, which is to make sure that our state requests the money from the Inflation Reduction Act, and that will be very helpful. There are also a number of bills relating to energy efficiency, and I'm hoping that OPPD will be supporting not only 560, but those bills that are talking about changing the energy codes, the building codes, and for providing money for energy efficiency, especially for low-income people. Want to congratulate you on the Environmental Trust Grant. That is very good. And again, I point out, I hope you can look at that Bellevue landfill that we've been talking about and studying for many years. And finally, I just want to point out a fairly newly announced Environmental Protection Agency grants that go to communities that have been subjected to pollution over the years. These are grants that you have to apply for, and I've already written to the Douglas County Health Department and some of the county commissioners, and I'm hoping that, like you did with the solar array out at the landfill, that you can cooperate with Douglas County and the Health Department to apply for that grant, which would be perfectly in line with your resolution for outreach to North Omaha in reference to the burning of coal for 3
30
more
seconds.
years. So please, I'll be glad to supply you with that information if you haven't already seen it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other requests for public comment?
There's one more, John Pollock.
Mr. Pollock?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay. John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha, 68131. First of all, I would like to thank the utility workers who successfully restored our power in our neighborhood this morning after the apparently a transformer blew last night. And those folks are out in the cold doing a hazardous job. And I know it's going on all the time when there's bad weather, and I just appreciate it. I also appreciate President Fernandez's report on the last cold spell. I find it interesting that in this type of extreme weather, we ended up with more power overall in the grid from wind energy than we did from coal. I think that's a good step. These cold outbreaks typically involve quite a bit of wind spread over a good part of wide area. So I think that this is more likely to be the case than not in these cold outbreaks. Looking ahead at the weather, the next week is going to be medium cold. We have a storm track to the south of us. We might get some very light snow, but nothing serious. Beginning in about a week, we are going to become more vulnerable to another Arctic cold outbreak, or actually probably several. Actually what gets called the polar vortex is an eddy that escapes from the main vortex, and That's been over Siberia for about 3 weeks now, but it's headed back to the North American side, and that makes us more vulnerable to the cold outbreaks again. I would expect that toward the end of the month, we'll probably end up with one or more of those lasting into early February. Sub-zero temperatures, the models are not showing anything as extreme as last
30
time, at
seconds.
least yet. Thank you. But there is some potential. The storm track would also bend south a little bit. We'd be subject to fast-moving low precipitation events, not the bomb cyclone type. But going into February, it's definitely looking colder again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish you had a better weather report to provide us. I think we would like the warm weather now. All right, are there any other requests for public comment?
There are not.
Okay. All right. With that, we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you very much for participating this evening.